Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at one of the most absolutely fascinating frameworks in psychology. We are going to explore the overarching cognitive perspective of the human mind, but we're going to look at it through a very specific lens. I want you to imagine your brain not just as a biological organ, but functioning as a classic, incredibly powerful 3D computer operating system. It's literally a system running complex software in the background of your life every single second of every day.
Okay, let's dive into this. Are you controlling your habits, or are they controlling you? We often feel like we're the active captains of our ship, making conscious, deliberate decisions about every little thing we do. But I really want to challenge that perception of your daily autopilot. Think about it. How much of your day is actually deliberately chosen by you, and how much is just your internal operating system running its pre-installed software loops?
The source material for today's explainer gives us this fundamental quote. The human mind is an information processing system, much like a computer. So what does this all mean? Basically, it means that our behaviors and our emotions aren't just random, chaotic reactions to the world around us. Actually, they are carefully calculated outputs produced by internal machinery. Just like a computer doesn't randomly open a program without a line of code telling it to do so, your mind is constantly processing data behind the scenes to figure out exactly how you feel and how you act.
To really understand this machinery, we have to look at how that data gets handled. According to the cognitive perspective, there are three distinct processing steps our mind uses to take in our environment. First up is input. That's the raw data collected by your senses. Second is encode. This is where your brain takes that raw data and translates it into a language your internal system can actually understand. And third is store, filing that translated data away for future use. These three steps are constantly running, laying the absolute foundation for what you experience as reality.
Section 1, Schemas and Daily Habits. Let's look at the specific mental software our mind uses to organize all this encoded data.
Enter the schema. A schema essentially acts as a mental folder or a shortcut that helps us organize complex information and navigate the world quickly. Honestly, learning about this is such a massive light bulb moment because your brain is bombarded with millions of bits of data every second. It can't possibly process everything from scratch. There's no way it would just overheat. So it uses schemas. These mental folders save us immense processing power. When you encounter a situation, your brain just opens the relevant schema folder and knows exactly what to do without you even having to think about it.
And this brilliantly illustrates how heavily we rely on schema usage in our daily lives. Think about making your morning coffee, or tying your shoes, or driving a familiar route to work. You don't consciously think about the specific mechanics of looping your shoelaces, right? Or exactly which streets to turn on during your morning commute. You do these daily life habits entirely on autopilot. Your brain already has a perfectly organized schema for your morning commute, so it just hits play on that software loop, completely freeing up your conscious mind to listen to music or plan out your day.
But, well, here is where the system kind of runs into trouble. Because we rely so heavily on these shortcuts, we can experience cognitive biases. While these software loops make us incredibly efficient, relying on them too much sets us up for system glitches. When our mind expects the world to fit neatly into our pre-existing mental folders, we can totally misinterpret reality or just completely miss new information that doesn't perfectly align with our automated coding. Section 2, Glitches and the Stroop Effect. Let's see what happens when our mental operating system experiences conflicting inputs. First, we have automatic processing. This is your fast schemas at work, humming along smoothly, no issues. But then, on the flip side, we have effortful processing. This is what happens when your software clashes. When a fast, unconscious habit is suddenly forced to confront a situation that requires slow, deliberate, conscious processing, your brain essentially freezes up for a millisecond while it desperately tries to resolve the conflict. This clash is perfectly captured by what psychologists call the Stroop effect. It's defined directly from our source material as cognitive interference, where our mental processing speed for different tasks conflicts. It is literally the prime example of a processing speed traffic jam in your brain. Your fast automatic reading schema collides head-on with your slower color-identifying schema. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we can map the Stroop effect onto simple, everyday analogies of cognitive friction. The classic Stroop effect is reading a word versus stating its color. But imagine an everyday analogy. You're driving and you see a classic octagonal stop sign, but it's painted bright green. Your schema for stop is tied to the shape and the word, but your schema for green means go. It creates massive cognitive friction. Or think about your automated physical routines versus a new task, like trying to walk up an escalator that's moving down. Your body knows exactly how to walk upstairs, but the conflicting environmental feedback causes a huge mental glitch.
Wait, why is this stop sign green? That right there is the exact feeling of cognitive interference. It's that momentary stutter in your brain. It's the precise moment your automated software loop crashes and your conscious mind is forced to step in and manually process this strange data.
Section 3. Reprogramming your reality. Since we're running on these powerful and sometimes glitchy software loops, let's enter developer mode to write a patch for our internal code.
We have to remember a core truth from our source. Behaviors are dictated by internal mental processes. And honestly, this is incredible news, because it means we aren't just passive observers of our environment, helplessly reacting to whatever happens around us. Since our actions and emotions stem from our internal software, we actually have the ability to open up the code and make adjustments.
Let's move to and see how this builds into actionable change. Here are the specific internal mental processes that dictate our behaviors: memory, perception, and selective attention. These are the actual components of your mind that you can tweak. You can choose to shift your selective attention to completely different aspects of your environment. You can work to reframe your perception of an event. By consciously changing how you direct these three elements, you are actively changing your thought patterns. You're updating your schemas.
So the crucial point is this: reprogramming internal thought patterns fundamentally changes how you interpret and interact with reality. By realizing that you run on loops and schemas, you gain the absolute power to rewrite them. When you catch a negative cognitive bias or an unhelpful daily habit running on autopilot, you can pause, step into developer mode, and consciously choose a new input. Sure, it takes effortful processing at first, but eventually you write a brand new, healthier schema. Which brings us to our final thought for today's explainer. If your reality is largely built on a software loop and you have the developer keys, what will you reprogram today? Seriously, think about that one habit or that one automatic reaction you really want to change and start writing some new code. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the mind's architecture.